Faces of Mothers, the Mother Archetype series that I'm doing. And just to remind you, this is the basic of the basic of the basics. The series on mothers and mother wound and mother love and mother as an archetype is a very, very big one, very close to my heart. It's 6 months, year-long type of teaching for those who are interested in these kind of things. That's just how far-reaching it is. And I'm just using 5 archetypes. There's obviously more. There's others that are intertwined. And it is important to understand mothers and mother archetype because we live in planet Earth, which is Mother Earth. We live in a very, very feminine planet. It might be ruled and run by masculine energy, but it is a very feminine planet. And it is important for us to recover and understand the feminine side of the planet, the feminine side of this world, for us to balance it out, for us to actually thrive. The masculine energy has run its course. It has created the world that we live in. It has made the world what it is now, but it is completely out of balance, and we need to come and bring the feminine energy. And it begins with understanding mother and mothers. It might begin with understanding your own mother or yourself as a mother or your daughter as a mother, but understanding the mother archetype, the mother energy, because it is the makulubas of feminine energy. I know feminine energy is usually just sexualized, and the lover archetype is the one that's purported. That's fine. That's a different version of femininity, which I will get into as we continue with these teachings. But you wanna understand the mother. You wanna understand the mother. You wanna understand why there's yo mama jokes and why yo mama is the one that hurts you the most. You know, moto aga roja ka all sorts of things. Maragastlo roja ka mau. And that is why we want to understand different mothers. So what I'm sharing here is the basics of the basics. It's like sub A of understanding mother archetype. So in the comments, do let me know if you want me to go deeper, because I can. Maybe not necessarily here on YouTube, but I can create a space for us to do this work. I can create something slightly more deeper. Okay, so with that out of the way, today I am teaching on my favorite of them all, my favorite mother archetype, which is the teaching mother, the training mother. And you understand why. Hey, I have a very big teacher archetype, and a teacher archetype is also a mother archetype. And a lot of my friends and family and children think that I'm a great mom. So, I love the teacher archetype and I love the mother archetype. And so let us begin with the traits, the gifts of the mother who teaches, who trains. I want to touch on folklore a little bit, African folklore, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, and then the shadows of the teaching mothers, because all archetypes have a dark side, all of them. All of them. We live in a dual universe. We live in the up, down, high, low, left, right, pansy, pezul. So everything has the opposite side, because that's how planet Earth is set up. In other dimensions, the duality disappears, and we're not in those dimensions. For as long as you are on Earth, for as long as you are human, you are living in a dual universe. So there is no one who's all good. There is no one who's all bad. Even Ket Matlala has his good side. That's just the reality of the dimension that we are existing in. So without much ado, let me wear my glasses and let's just begin teaching on the training mother or the teaching mother. So if the nurturing mother, which is the mother that I had, if the nurturing mother is concerned with making sure that you are fed physically, spiritually, emotionally, and socially, meaning that you are always fed, you are always soothed, you are always comfortable, you are always just in a place of comfort, in a place of not starving, you are not lacking for much in terms of nurturing and sustenance is concerned. The protective mother is concerned with you are going to be safe from all sorts of harm. I will make sure that nothing threatens you. I will defend you. I will protect you. I will fight for you. And I will teach you how to fight indirectly. So the nurturing mother will teach you how to keep yourself sustained and not living in some form of lack, particularly on the things that you need. Now, the teaching mother is not concerned too much with all of this. The teaching mother is concerned with your readiness to face life as it is, reality of the world. So it's slightly higher than the protective mother in that the protective mother problem, I think, they will do the thing for you. They will do the protecting, the defending, the fighting, the standing up for you. And while you are learning how to do that, but they tend to be the one doing it. The teaching mother is the one that teaches you the life skills, how to live in this world when I'm not. So the teaching mother is the mother who is teaching children to become adults. So the teaching mother is the one who will teach you what responsibility is, what accountability is, what discipline is, what honor is, what resilience is. They will teach you wisdom and discernment. They will teach you consequences. What this, if you do this, it's going to result in this. They will teach you how to face the real world, but not only just face the real world, face it with some deep wisdom, some deep understanding, some accountability, some understanding that certain things will bring really weird results. So this is not the mother that will go and knock at a bully's house and say, yeah, therefore let's do that. This is the mother who will help you deal with a bully. Are you with me? This is the mother who will help you have energetically and vibrationally not being picked on. There's a friend of mine who comes to mind who was raised by that type of mother. I mean, she's a very, very classy lady, very senior in the corporate space. And she often talks about how her mother taught her certain things. Every time we are in conversation, especially if I'm in Joburg and we are having those long lunches or dinner, there will be no conversation that ends without saying, my mom taught me this. You know, when I was younger, my mom made sure that I understand this and this and that. Her finances are in order. She has that aura about her of having everything put together. She's responsible to the core. I mean, she holds very senior positions in corporate, body COO, CEO vibes, because she understands accountability. She understands consequences. She's wise. I always say to her, you are so, so wise. And she'd always say back to me that, the wise recognizes the wise type of thing. But she was raised by a teaching mother. You know, her mother was not always physically available. For an example, she grew up in boarding school, and her mother would travel the world and do projects in the world for months or sometimes years on end. But their connection and her teachings, the mother's teachings, never actually left her. And to this day, in her late 40s, she constantly, constantly talks about my mother, this, my mother taught me this, my mother taught, I learned this from the mother. So that's a teaching mother. Now, a teaching mother, like I said, it's slightly higher than the nurturing mother and the protective mother in terms of energetics, in terms of chakra systems. For those of you who are my former students, you understand. In the previous video, I spoke of the nurturing mother being the one who's concerned with root chakra matters. Because, I mean, feeding your child, even though you're feeding them emotionally, because my mom made sure that we are emotionally sort of safe to the best of her ability. She did it the best way she knew how. She made sure that we are not uncomfortable in any way. And then the protective mother takes it a notch higher. And then the teaching mother then becomes the one that says, okay, Nana, I'm going to teach you how to become an adult, because childhood is a passing phase. That is a beautiful, beautiful archetype of a mother. And it's my favorite because I really would like to believe that I am a training and teaching mother. I really believe I am that mother. I said I would talk about folklore and touch on African folklore that sort of demonstrate what the teaching mother is, because we always talk about Greek mythology. So let's just introduce African mythology. And this one is quintessentially South African mythology. And that is the story of Tselane le Kgetsi ya Dimo. So if you grew up in my generation and you are Tswana, Sotho, Pedi, you would know of a story, Sa Tselane le Kgetsi ya Dimo. So Tselane's mother was the teaching mother. So the story goes, Tselani's mother and her older siblings had to go to the field, and they had to go for a long time. And they had to leave Tselane alone in the house. And so the mother, being a teaching mother, had taught her many, many lessons along the way of how to protect herself for when they are gone. The story goes, and depending on the version that you remember or that you were taught, Tselani's mother used to teach Tselani many, many family songs, that a song that is sang in a particular way for her to know that it is the mother who's calling, or, a song to ask her to come and get food, a song for this, a song for that. I don't know what version you remember, but there's this song where Tselani's mother would sing when she comes home and bring her food, because they had to be in the field for long. I mean, folklore, mythology, it's quite weird. So one of the songs was, Tselane, wanake, Tselane, wanake, tlonka dicho uje, something like that. So Tselani's mom would then teach her that do not open the door unless you hear one of the family songs. do not open the door unless it's me or your sisters or a voice, a tone, a vibration that you recognize. So as the story goes, Tselani's mother would always come and sing. Tselani would open the door, get the food, or open the door, get whatever. Meanwhile, an ogre, Lidimu, a giant, a monster, who obviously wanted to eat Tselane, overheard the song, memorized the song. And at first he would come to Tselani's house and try to sing the song. Tselane would obviously hear it. I mean, it's rough voice. And I mean, that's weird. That's not my mom. But over time, Lidimu kept practicing, and at one time, it swallowed a very red, burning coal to soften his voice, and ultimately sang the song. Tselane was so confused and thought that it was the mother, and then she got caught. Now, the story is far more nuanced and far more archetypal and has far more deeper meanings than what I'm trying to tell you here. But I was just demonstrating using folklore, using mythology as to how a training mother is. So all Tselani's mother was trying to say is that you are going to be alone in the world one day, and there's certain things you need to understand. You need to sharpen your intuition, you need to sharpen your hearing, you need to trust your gut, you need to listen closely for what does not feel right. You need to be vigilant, because some people might come looking all good and great and like Greeks bearing gifts. Meanwhile, they have ulterior motives. So that is the essence of the story, is that Tselani's mother was a teaching mother. You'll recognize that Tselani's mother did not, in the story, it doesn't say Tselani's mother left her with food and comfort. Tselani's mother fought the giant. It's not like that. Tselani's mother was preparing the child for readiness in the world. And that is what a teaching mother does. And this is my favorite archetype because, like I said, I think in my mothering journey, I've tried to do that as best as I could, even though I do have a very strong nurturing side, but I also have a very strong teaching side. So I'm very curious if your mother was a teaching, training mother, or was your mother a nurturing, a protective mother? Now, like all archetypes, there is the shadow side of the teaching mother, believe it or not. The shadow side are that the teaching mother can be overly critical, expecting too high standards in their children, expecting them to always reach your 100%. There's another deeper shadow side of those parents who embody a little bit of the teaching parent way, or teaching mother, where if you come home and your marks were you got 97%, instead of being very happy that you got 97% in maths, they would ask you, so what happened to the 3%? Where's the 3%? So that's part of the overly critical, expecting really high standards in the child, pushing them way too far. There can also be an element of deep emotional coldness in teaching parents, because they want you to be ready for the world. So sometimes they get a tad too cold, not showing warmth, which can really impact the child and the adult. That becomes quite negatively. There's this irritating constant correction. You never quite feel right with a teaching mother. Everything you say, there's this thing that they have to correct. There's this red pen that is always correcting everything. And there's also just emphasis on being perfect or excellent all the time, which puts a lot of pressure on the child, who becomes an adult that feels never truly good enough. So the impacts of it is that the adult child then becomes, when you become an adult, or even as you grow as a child, you never truly feel good enough if your teaching mother lived in the shadow side of it, and a lot of them do. You yourself become highly critical of your own things. You never are quite happy with what you put out. It makes you unnecessarily competitive of others, even when there's no need for competition. Upis, competitive, because you keep hearing your mother's voice in your head. It makes you extremely jealous. Children who come from critical or shadow side of the teaching mother or training mother tend to struggle with envy and jealousy, because why? They never truly feel good enough. So they measure their worth with what they achieve, with their performance, and so on. They tend to struggle to rest, because the rest means laziness. They confuse rest, relaxation with laziness, and they are constantly needing to be praised. And even when you praise them, they don't receive it well. if they had a teaching, training mother who lived in the shadow, who really pushed the shadow side of the archetype more than the positive side. And the positive side is beautiful in that I mean, if you had a teaching mother or a training mother, a wise mother, like a friend I was telling you about, you just constantly the teachings never leave you because they're pure. They make you ready for real life and for adulthood. Those are the people who adult so well, who don't necessarily face, I mean, I don't mean that they don't face challenges. Of course, they face challenges, but they always sort of have a toolbox for how to deal with this one, how to deal with that one, how to deal with that one, because they were taught well. But they were taught well in their home and they were taught by their mothers. And the teaching trend, the thing of teaching is actually very, very feminine. Masculinity instructs and leads, femininity teaches. So it becomes very important when you think of South Africa with its high single mother household for us to really get back into the teaching mode, which is very hard. And I'm because we are also working, we are also bringing income, we are also protecting, and we are also providing. So the teaching then slacks because what can you do? You are tired, so you leave social media, television, PlayStation to raise your children. And guys, I'm not saying this as a judgment, I'm saying this as a fact. And we see the results of it out there. We raising children who are not taught right from wrong, who are not taught basic decency, basics of the basics. So yeah, this is why I love this archetype. And I think it needs to rise, it needs to come back. We need to teach our children the ways so that when they are old, they can always return back to those ways. Because like it says, in the great book, in the sacred book, the Bible, that the best thing you can have, wisdom is precious, is more precious than rubies and gold. So the best thing you can give your child, really, more than comforts, more than protection, is knowledge and wisdom. We need to teach our children again. And as you can hear, it's probably the longest video because it is one of my favorite ways of mothering. And I wish that you develop that in your own household. And I wish that you had that mother. And if you didn't have that mother, I wish that you become that mother. And that doesn't mean don't protect, don't nurture. It means let's develop this one more because it has high consequences. It has high rewards, rather. It has high rewards and it shapes society. Feeding our kids, protecting our kids, yeah, it does something, but it doesn't shape society. Children who are taught well, those are the ones who shape society. Those are the ones who become true leaders that can stand the test of time. Yeah, and so that is it with the teaching training mother. The next video will be the absent mother and the dark mother. And then I'll conclude it today. Like I say, if you want more, if you want it deeper, if you want it in a form of a workshop, we can do that. But for now, it's just a taste of the basics of why is it that mother archetype is one thing that you need to understand and we need to recultivate. With that, this is my story. I cannot wait to hear yours.